there's a lot going on. A lot happened this week. We're going to talk about it. Oh, so like, share, and subscribe, number one. Number two, after our show, we do our wrap-ups now on our Instagram Live. So the candidate can have the video for themselves. We don't want to kind of take away from their stuff. So we're going to do our Instagram Live. So make sure today we're going to probably do our Instagram Live around 7:30. So today we'll do our wrap-up at 7:30. Join us on Instagram Live. Put your notifications on if you follow us on there, so you can get notifications every time we come on live, right? So like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. Like and share on our Facebook page. Again, dates that we want you to remember. The last date to register has already expired, but what we can tell you is that you have up until October 28th to order your mail-in ballot. That is the last possible time. You have until that day at 5 p.m., I think it was, because I saw it on the website, to order your mail-in ballot. You do get that mail-in ballot, we suggest that you take it to your precinct during early voting. You can go to any precinct and drop it off. However, the day of November 8th, which is the final day to vote, you have to take it down to the supervisor of elections in either Lauderdale, and what's the other area code?
I think it's in downtown Fort Lauderdale.
Downtown Fort Lauderdale. So those are the only two places you can take it on November 8th. But during the week of which we are in currently, early voting, you can take it anywhere. So early voting started on Monday, ends on November 6th. Okay, you have up until October 28th to order your mail-in ballot. Please, 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 if you haven't done so, do it ASAP. Okay. And the final thing was what else? I gave you the week of early voting. November 8th, you can only vote at your specific precinct. So make sure you understand that. Know where your precincts are. Please go to browardvotes.gov to get that information, to figure out where your ballot is, where you can put in your ballot, and also your voting status, right? So do that today. Don't wait. Do it today. All right. So I'm your host, Narni. I told you all that because that's more important. I'm your host, Nikki Grant. My co-host is Sandra Sheffer. We're back again with another candidate for commission. This is for Lauderdale Lakes, Dr. Nethel Stephens. We're going to introduce her. Do you have something to say, Sandra? I know I do the dates. You have anything? Nothing?
No, the only thing that was important is the people to know to go vote. We prefer that you vote early instead of waiting until the last day. We think of November 8th as the absolute last opportunity to vote, not the first opportunity to vote. That's just the last day to go vote. We prefer that you vote early because it also helps the candidate about where, they got to position folks, what the turnout is like. They can pay attention, know where they need to hone in their resources or whatever, things like that. Vote by mail. If you requested it, you should already have it. You can track it to make sure that they received it. So we want you to vote early. Vote by mail, vote early. Only vote once, and then the November 8th is the last chance you get to vote.
And while you're doing early voting, grab all your friends, your cousins down the street, pooking them, take them all with you. Let's take everybody, make it like an outing. You have all week to do it, and just enjoy the fact that you're using your superpower. That's what I say it is.
And the last thing is, I think some of the churches are doing stroll to the poll this Sunday. So if you were one of those churches, make sure you participate with that. And then I believe some of the other ones are going to do it on November the 6th, which is the last Sunday before election day, which is actually the last day of early voting. So do stroll to the polls, go take a friend, call a friend, let them know, text them, send out reminders, because every vote counts. Every vote counts. And the whole idea that your vote don't matter is not true. It absolutely does. Because if it didn't, they wouldn't try so hard to stop you from being able to do it.
Right.
Yeah, they would not try so hard. So on that note, let's talk to Dr. Stephens. How are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for this seat in Lauderdale Lakes.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to you and Nikki for having me a part of this great forum. And listen, I have a passion for assisting, for being a voice for people that we consider the least, the lost, and the left out. It's just been a mandate. I always say that I always thought that I was going to be the first African-American Supreme Court Justice female. Katanja beat me to it.
That's okay. It's okay. Representation matters on all levels.
Let me tell you how it works, because I wanted to be an attorney, and because I've always was into law and government. And how it works is I ended up when I surrendered my life to Christ and started really getting involved in ministry, I found myself as a governmental prophet. So although I did not go to law school, I find myself always working on the governance side of things. Of course, I'm Dr. Nethel Stephens. I have a doctorate in leadership and innovation, and I've worked from tribal government to federal government to corporations to other nonprofits, and I'm currently the CEO of Stephens Consulting Group. So through all of my work in the community, from the various organizations that I'm a part of, Delta Sigma Theta, the Links Incorporated, all of those things, I've always found myself serving other people. And so I can remember when I became a campaign manager for one of the former city commissioners about 12 years ago, I had an infinity and a passion for Lauderdale Lakes. And I always said, I'm going to move in this city and one day I'm going to be a commissioner. And when the opportunity came for me to purchase my second home, because I had a home before in North Lauderdale, and when it was time for me to purchase my second home, my realtor called me and said, because I told her two things. I want it new and I want my mortgage no higher than this. And she said, it's in Lauderdale Lakes. I said, I'm buying it. I don't even need to see it. I'm buying it. And she can attest to it. I told her, and I looked at her husband, who was my mortgage broker, and said, I'm going to be a commissioner. And that was 2018. And so it's really a passion. It's that Jeremiah, 29:11. I know the plans I have for you. This was a part of the plan. And so I just think that it's time for us to bring the integrity, the class, the excellence, and the professionalism to minorities, particularly African Americans, being at the table, not trying to get a seat at the table. My whole thing is I want to turn the table over because we've become complacent and compromised.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things. I believe Lauderdale Lakes is a city where all of your commissioners are Black. Is that Lauderdale Lakes? All of the commissioners, because I live in one of those cities too. I live in Miramar, where everybody Black, right? We got all that Black excellence happening. All
Black. It's more than all Black. It's all female. So it's
on top of that.
Yes.
That is some serious Black excellence, right? And so there are a couple of, one of the things that we've had to talk to all of the candidates about is the price of housing, right? I'm so glad you was able to get that house in 2018. I don't know what the story would be in 2022 because these numbers are something else. As a commissioner, what, if anything, can you do to try to help the folks to be able to stay in Lauderdale Lakes and not get priced out?
And I'm so glad you asked that question. I can remember I am the current chair of the Economic Development Advisory Board. And I can remember when Cassia Estates, which is on the corner of Oakland Park and 31st, when they first approached the city about building 80 homes in our community. Those homes started out at $500,000, $600,000. And so one of the challenges we're having is affordable housing. If you looked at the number, I think in South Florida, we've increased 14% overall. And a lot of that has to do with property insurance, because I actually got endorsed from the realtors and just picked up my seed from them. But the property insurance has been one of the issues in taxes. Although our millage rate stayed the same, and I think we can talk about affordable housing. But what happens is when you have 80% of your borrowers that are FHA, where they're in taxes and insurance is escrowed into their mortgages, what happens is when there is an increase in your property insurance, we know that right now Florida is in a state of emergency when it comes to homeowners insurance. When there's an increase, I mean, personally, my homeowners insurance didn't get rewrote in the state. They didn't license them financially. So now in the middle of a claim, my insurance company went out of business. I had to get new insurance, which caused my mortgage to go up because I'm in an escrow account. And now, when you're dealing with homeowners insurance increases, when you're dealing with, although we hurrah at the property value has increased, our millage rate stayed the same in Lauderdale Lakes, but because the property value has increased, the taxes has increased.
Oh, wow.
And the property value, is it increasing because of the new construction around it that's bringing up the price of everything else?
It's a combination of the housing market was trending up, and we have newer properties that is now being valued at a higher value, which is causing those existing properties to also increase in values. And so one of the things as a commissioner, I think that we have to educate our people. What we're doing is we're standing on a dais and we're making decisions and we're inviting people to come. But my thing is, if they're not coming to you at City Hall, you need to go to them. That we have to have our residents. We have to work with builders that are coming. We're kind of like landlocked, so everything we're doing is going up. We're only like 3.73 square miles of land. And so it's not like we have a lot of places we can build, but even working with those new developers coming in, because there are some tax incentives for people that offer affordable housing. So working with those builders that will have a percentage of those things be affordable housing. So I think that will then work with us, but then really partnering with our state legislators to really do something about this insurance. Because at the end of the day, if property owners can't afford the homeowners insurance and mortgage companies force place insurance policy, that there's nothing that we can do. We really have to begin to turn our attention to dealing with this insurance crisis that's in our state.
So I have a question about like when and you may or may not know this, since all of this happened in 2018 when they asked to develop that property. When the commissioners are making decisions about allowing developers to develop, do they have an idea of what the price point of those houses are ahead of time before they agree to the land?
Yeah, see, I think what originally happened is you see in a perfect world, developer comes in and they're meeting with the commissioner to sit in there, going on all of their plans, and their plan is we want to have this property developed within the next 18 months. But then when you have something, so I can keep that price point the same because we're dealing with the same economy. But when you have something like COVID that hits, and now when you are used to paying $3.18 for an inch of wood, and now because of manufacturing, now because of supply and demand, that same piece of wood is now $9.18. That's where you're dealing with when you have like the emergency with COVID that we had. Nobody anticipated that. So what was supposed to be an 18-month project now turns into a 3-year project because we had a time and place and getting in materials and getting in factors. And I know the commission was on them about when you're going to break ground, when you're going to do that. And so that's some of the challenges that we have faced. But they look at all of that like, this is the price point we're going to have it, and this is where we're going to be. But if we don't do affordable housing, then there's nothing that the city really, really can do.
Let me ask one last question on the housing issue. Are there any programs to help, the people who are already living in Lauderdale Lakes that may have older homes that may need some improvements, to maybe do some energy efficiency upgrade, that type of thing? Because all the money shouldn't go to the developers now. I think the people who have been there, want to stay there, should be able to upgrade their properties also. Is that something that commissioners can do?
Absolutely. I love that about Lauderdale Lakes. We're the great We Care city. We may be small, but we're great. We're constantly through our CRA looking at ways that we can assist our residents. We have a home improvement program where we work with our single family homeowners, people in condos, and in that it does that. That's what it does to help them improve their homes and bring it up to code. Just last meeting, they approved the air conditioner program where we're helping those residents that have older units, as long as they qualify, replace those units. And we even increased the price on that because the price of getting a 3.5-ton AC has increased. So with that, there's some parameters that we have in place that we can assist them with replacing roofs and windows and doors. So we do have a home improvement program that we do work. We even work with not only home improvement, the minor home repair program where we work with electrical, to bring the home up to code, HVAC, making a home handicap accessibility, plumbing, you can name it. If it's on infrastructure on the inside, through our minor home repair program, we do that. And we even, what most of our residents may not know, we even have a homeowners insurance program.
Oh, that's nice.
Well,
Is this so all those programs? Were those programs already in place, or those are things that have come as a result of the, Joe Biden and the federal government passing the infrastructure bill?
It was some of that was already in place, some that we have been able to expand because of ARPA funding as a result of that. But we've been able to strengthen them with additional funding. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Nikki, what you got?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna ask Dr. Stephens, what is her top 3 things that she would like to see happen in Lauderdale Lakes if she is chosen to be the commissioner there.
I'm so glad that you asked that. And my three things that I've been passionate about is economic development, code enforcement, and programs to our vulnerable populations, which is our youth and our elderly. When you look at economic development, as I just stated, I chair that board. And one of the things that I'm big on is if I'm elected as their next commissioner, I want to train people how to treat us. We have property owners that have property in our city and other cities out west, but the property that they own here it doesn't look the same. We have dilapidated buildings, we have dilapidated parking lots, and my thing is you're going to treat Lauderdale Lakes like you treat an out west city. And so really being a city that businesses, and not only small businesses, but that major retailers are attracted to, making sure that we're providing an at-ease process for people that want to do business and open businesses in the city of Lauderdale Lakes, working with our developmental services through our city manager to make sure that process is online, that is easy, and that is accessible, and that it's not taking 18, 12 months for a business to get a bad business tax receipt to do business in our city. When you look at code enforcement, that's making sure not only our business, but our residents, we have to respect where we live. We train people how to treat us. If we're not keeping our homes, if we're not making sure as a commission that we make our businesses keep those properties up to date, how do we expect other people that come through our city, drive through our city, work in our city, play in our city to treat it if we don't treat it right? So making sure that our code enforcement department is adequately staffed, and not only adequately staffed, but making sure that they understand they're the first line defenders. I see code enforcement like the greeters at Walmart. When you walk in Walmart, that greeter is going to really frame your shopping experience. And I feel like that's how code enforcement is. Those are our frontline defenders. They're counselors, they're trainers. Those are the people that hear the complaints. They're the eyes and the ears. So really working with and really solidifying and bolstering that code enforcement. And then finally, enhancing.
Can I stop you on that one? Because I do have some questions about code enforcement, right? And I, every now and then they call me a troublemaker. I ain't trying to be no troublemaker, nothing like that, right? But sometimes we have grandma living in a house that she's been in for 50 years. She can't maintain that grass. She can't maintain that lawn. She don't know where to go to change those windows. And I have a condo in Dania Beach, and we ended up getting all these citations because of the 40-year, once that building, the Surfside went down, they had the 40-year inspection stuff and all of that. So I ended up having to go to a code enforcement meeting in Dania Beach to deal with this. But then I saw some of them were the old lady that live in the house. She's like, well, how you expect me to cut the grass? I'm on disability in a wheelchair. I can't get it done. Can't really get somebody to do it for her. That's one thing. And then you have, like, I appreciate what you were saying about the owners maintaining the property, because there was another person who they had tenants there. This was their story, and they were sticking to it. They had tenants there. The tenants didn't let them know that there was all of these issues going on. Next thing you know, they got a bill for $45,000 from code enforcement because they were getting $250 a day citations for being in violation. Right. So I understand what you said about code enforcement, but how do we reconcile those things? You may have an out-of-state owner that's not able and they're not being told for whatever reason. And then, the older elderly person, or maybe the person with a disability that's living in a home that they inherited that can't maintain the property. I don't know if we want code enforcement to punish them, but tell me how we're going to solve that issue.
I'm so glad that you asked that question. And that's why I always say the day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. In our city of Lauderdale Lakes, if you rent out your property, you have to pay $250 and get an annual rental inspection. I don't know if many of our owners know that. I only learned about this once I started really being active in the city and talking to code enforcement, and they told me that, and I'm an owner. So it's educating all of our owners about that process. So there's no excuse that you don't know about these violations, because you're to have an annual rental inspection. The other thing is that I love about this city, we have a code compliance trust fund program. So for that elderly lady that can't afford it, I'm on fixed income. That program was established so that as code is coming out, yeah, these are some problems, but here is some solutions to your problem that we can assist you. So that helps in we give up the $2,500, and that helps with exterior buildings. That helps with the appearances of lawns and irrigation systems and broken windows. Anything that you can talk about. Think about unprotected swimming pools. And so we do, our code enforcement officers, not just there saying, we're going to violate you, you need to get this fixed. We're also notifying our residents that, hey, we have this program that is available that can assist you.
So do they do that when they're bringing the violation? Because, you know, like if we're going to tell grandma may not be able to get on that internet because she don't trust them computers, you know, to get that information. So how is it that we're getting that information to the public?
There is handouts. And that's one of the things that I want to make sure, because as I canvassed our entire community and I looked at the diversity, not only in age, not only in race, but even in linguistically, one of the things that I know is we have to do more than just go on social media. We have to do more than just go on internet. We have a very wide range of people. And so my goal as a commissioner is to make sure you're not just the commissioner for those that can use the internet. You are the commissioner, like you said. We had a young lady in our community just turned 102 years old.
Wow.
What internet she going on?
She ain't going on there.
And so that's one of the things when I talked about training code compliance is really working with them to understand their population. If you know you're going to an elderly lady, you need to print something out and give it to her. Don't tell her, go on the internet and find that. If you're going to someone that's younger, even if you're going to someone that's young and don't understand the language. So this when you start talking about really, really working with code enforcement to help them understand, they're the first line defenders. They're the ones that are going to determine whether an individual wants to live in Lauderdale Lakes for an eternity or whether they want to hurry up, sell, or find someone else to live. So it's really knowing your target population and making sure we have multiple ways of giving the information out.
All right. So your third thing, I'm sorry. I mean, I just wanted to make the conversation flow. So I needed to follow up on those questions.
No, my third thing is something that I'm passionate about is service to our vulnerable population, our elderly, and in our youth. I'm a very active member of the great Lauderdale Lakes Vikings football and cheer program. We have state champion in football and national champion in cheerleader. And working with those kids, I have a passion for making sure the city really, really bolster the program that we have for the youth. When we have, it's a proven fact, statistics prove it. If we develop programs and services that maximize the out of school time, guess what? They're not breaking in my house, your house. They're not breaking into businesses. And so making sure we have programs that will assist those that are artistically inclined, those that are athletically inclined, those that may be STEM inclined. You know, they don't want to play football, they don't want to play basketball, baseball, but they may be your engineer, they may be your next mathematician. So I really want to strengthen those programs that we provide to our youth. And I want to really do something for our elderly. We have an Alzheimer's center that we really kind of work with our elderly. But listen, we have our commission meetings on the second and fourth Tuesday at 7 p.m. Grandma don't want to be out at 8 o'clock driving at night.
No,
so I want to think out the box. I
want to fortune on at that time. They ain't going.
Yeah, they ain't driving, so they ain't coming. And the truth be told, those are the people that really want to be engaged. I want to provide an alternate commission meeting that's a 12 noon meeting where we can get our elderly involved. So they're not finding out and they're not learning as I'm knocking on their door. I ain't even know that's what they do because they're telling me that I don't want to be out driving at night. And so really making sure that we're designing programming and that our city is offering services that will meet the need of our elderly.
And I have to tell you, that's an awesome, I'm sorry, Nerdy, that's an awesome idea because I am part of the Miami-Dade Senior Caucus. Don't ask me how I ended up being a member, but I am, right? And they had that meeting at 2:00 on Monday. I'm like, 2:00, we at work, but they're not at work because they're all retired, right? So you do need to put it up. And I was sitting like, who could be at this meeting at 2:00? But thank goodness it was on Zoom and I was able to, put on my earpiece and kind of listen to what was going on. But you're absolutely right that for that elderly population, you need to do stuff during the day for them because they got nothing but time. They probably some of them are involved, but they do have time and 7 p.m. ain't working. They're winding down, had their day, done had their dinner. about to sit and watch, like I said, Wheel of Fortune and go to bed after that. And sometimes these meetings can last a long time, because we listened to the Broward County School Board meeting yesterday. That thing was 12 hours long.
12. It killed my battery on my iPad. It was 12 hours.
12 hours.
We had a whole conversation about that. I watched it for the 12 hours. So just so you know. But I had a question, Dr. Stephens. You talked about programs with the children. That's one of my passions too, about the kids. What is the city of Lauderdale Lakes doing, and you would do as a commissioner, to work hand in hand with the school board in terms of the schools that are in your city, and how would you make the program, like progress your program into the school system as well, if that's something that you can do?
No, that is an awesome question. The city does have what we call a school advisory board that works with all of our school. We have one high school, which is Board Anderson High School.
I went to Board Anderson
School. She went there.
Yes. We have Lauderdale Lakes Middle School. We have Oriole Elementary. We have Park Lakes Elementary. We have some charter schools, Central Charter School, and a couple of daycares in our area. So we have a school advisory board that every commissioner has an opportunity to appoint one person that works with our school to foster relationships, to see where we can meet a need. Now, what I would add value to is partner also with some of our businesses. I know that schools have their own school advisory committee. I mean, I was a PTF SAC chair when my daughter was in middle and high school, because she went to a private school in elementary. But one of the things is really partnering with some of our business owners, people that do business in our city, and help them understand it is in their best interest that we make sure, because the kids, 90% of the kids that attend our schools in this area live in this area.
Yes.
And so part of strengthening those relationships will be bringing those businesses that have business owners that have businesses in our city, making sure that they're supporting those schools, making sure that the programming at those schools go above and beyond, partnering even with the city. We do a lot of leadership development programs that we have in our city. And so it's really strengthening it, going in and doing an assessment and really seeing how we can level up those services.
Nice.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, when you're talking about the after-school programs, they were extremely important. Like my youngest brother used to, because we grew up in Miami, and he used to go to the park in Miami. He learned to play tennis in the park in Miami, and he went to Tuskegee University on a tennis scholarship, along with the United Negro College Fund scholarship, by learning to play tennis in the park. Because tennis is one of those sports that are very expensive. And, my mother couldn't really afford that, but because of the programming that were in the city parks, he was able to play that sport, get good enough at it that he was able to play in college and go there on a scholarship. So what you're talking about is something that can create generational wealth by just investing in the children at that particular age.
And listen, one of the things that I am going to champion when voted as the next commissioner is financial literacy, because we have people that can't afford you started out asking about housing. We have people that can't qualify for housing because at the age of 8 and 9, no one taught them about money. No one taught them about how to be financial literate. No one taught them the importance of credit. And so really champion financial literacy in our city, from our youth to our older people, really working with people so that they can take command of their lives when it comes financially, And so that's one of the things that I want to make sure that our city definitely does and offer to our residents.
Yeah, and it's important, because I was talking to someone yesterday and they were talking about buying a business, and they was like, yeah, I got to buy cash. I'm like, don't, I got to, like, you don't buy everything cash now. Some loans are good because you get write-offs and different credits and getting grants and all that, everything, right? So that's part of what we do too, is that
you went out. I could not hear you. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear us now?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was talking to someone about, when you mentioned that financial literacy piece, this person was talking about expanding their business, and they were trying to save the money and use all of their cash to do that, right? No. And the financial literacy is important. I'm like, don't do that. Like, no, you need to get a loan, establish some credit. You can get write-offs and all these different things. Like, you don't always have to spend money. And then, we have older folks who they're not putting their money in the bank. It's under the mattress. It's hidden in different spots in the house and all that type of stuff. And, they pay all their bills in cash and not establishing. So it is absolutely important what you're saying about just teaching the community overall, and also start teaching them young, right? In terms of like how to spend their money. Don't, like, I'm not saying not to have nice shoes and all those types of things, but, for example, I'm gonna just use this as an example to make this point. I know someone who does like the credit repair and they get you to 740 and higher and all of that, right? And when they're showing examples of the person having a 740 credit score, they're showing them next to a Mercedes. That's not what you should do with your 740 credit score. I don't think. You show me when you could open a business, get a loan to expand that and build on their wealth instead of getting a depreciating asset. So I truly appreciate you saying that. I think that is something that is extremely important, because getting your 740 credit score should not be for you to buy a Mercedes. I'm not saying you shouldn't have one if you do, but that ain't the first thing you should buy.
Come on. And not only that, helping especially minorities understand, that's my passion, financial literacy, helping them understand that when we look at investing and buying products, we're not looking at that same amount invested,
right,
at the same age. We're looking at the current value of money.
Yes.
And money is atypical. It has no thoughts about you. It is you. That's why you have 90% of the people that win the lottery, they broke in a few years. Why? There's not been a transformation of the mind.
Right.
If you're diligent over $10, you're not going to be diligent over $1,000. And so it's really helping them understand we have a $1.3 trillion buying power. Yet 34% of African Americans don't even have a savings account.
No, let's not talk about net worth. There's no such thing.
How do you have a $1.3 trillion in spending, but yet 34% don't even have a checking account, a savings account, or $1,000 saved? Wow. And so it's really about transitioning the mindset, making people, because I always say at the end of the day, people don't, and I love these movements that we do, but those movements don't move people. It is money that moves people.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why I definitely want to include financial literacy as a big part of what we're going to do, moving our city forward.
That's
and
amazing.
Finding different ways to communicate that information to the public is absolutely. Do we want to talk? So we didn't want to keep you too long, but like in terms of, so policing is a big thing, right? Community policing is a big thing, and I believe Lauderdale Lakes is one of the cities that are you contracted with BSO, or do you have your own police department?
We're contracted with BSO.
Okay. And is that something that the city plans on continuing to do, or they're looking into having their own police force?
Well, in meetings that I've been to over the last couple of years, I know at one point that was something that was brought up by a former commissioner. We need to look at that. But I know that we just kind of a few years ago had our issue because the city owed BSO, and we finally was able to burn that note, and we don't owe them. But one of the things that I definitely want to deal with when I'm elected is addressing the public safety issue, because I know for a fact that our city is understaffed when it comes to the police, because there is absolutely no way we can have the same level of police from 2 years ago, when in fact over the past couple of years we've built 420 new units off of commercial. Where I live, they constructed 129 new villas, 30 townhomes, added 317 apartments, and we got 80 brand new over $500,000 houses on the corner. When you begin to increase the number of housing units in your area, that has to do. I don't want people afraid, but we can do community policing, but public safety is definitely an issue. Don't nobody want to move in a city where crime is.
Right.
I don't want to. When my alarm was tripping a couple of weeks ago, it's taking you 33 minutes. Lauderdale Lakes is only 3.76 square miles. Listen to me. 3.76 square miles. Most people walk that.
That's a 5K, a little bit more than a 5K.
It took you 33 minutes. And so I'm like, Lord, all of these things are happening to me because you're showing me the underlying causes and issues that I will need to address when I become a commissioner. We can't operate in fear. A lot of times, because the city owed BSO and we were almost about to be taken over, it's like we don't want to increase in that because it's expensive to have an officer. I think they said it's $164,000 for one officer.
They don't get paid that much.
Okay, exactly. Benefits and all of that. So it's expensive, but that's one of the things I definitely want to address is public safety, because at the end of the day, when you've increased it just by the numbers that I've just shared with y'all, and those are just housing units. So imagine if one person lived in each house, That's a lot of people. But you know, the average house, 2.5, 3 people. When you start doing that, we have to make sure that our residents feel safe and secure.
So with that being said, do you what's going to be the common ground? Do you stop building until you can increase the number of public safety officers, or do you continue building, not knowing when you're going to be able to get the police department and the public safety issues to match the population that presently exists?
Okay, and so I'm glad that you asked that question, because one of the things is you can't stop economic development and growth. And one of the strengths that I bring is, and I'm not, you know, my pastor always says that if I boast, I'm boasting in the Lord. Okay. I believe that I'm a highly qualified commissioner, candidate for commission, because I bring the professional skill set. So there are so many federal grant dollars. I've done grants most of my life. There's so many federal resources that are available. We just have to do the hard work. So it's really about partnering with because that's what commissioners do. I don't know if commissioners know that. You have a fiduciary responsibility to the city you govern. And so that's partnering with the city managers, making sure that we are applying and tap into every resources that is made available to us as a city.
That's amazing.
And so how do you market Lauderdale Lakes for people to go there? Like, what do you do to, I live in the best city in Broward County. I'm not saying nothing about your city, but I think I live in the best city in Broward County because Miramar got everything, right? So how is it that you would be, because as you said, one of the responsibilities as a commissioner is to get people to come to your city, spend the money, and the people who live there to also spend their money in the city instead of outside. How do you market your city to everybody else?
Let me tell you how we're going to market the city. When I become the next commissioner of the great We Care city of Lauderdale Lakes, our name will be in the wind, because we're going to train people how to treat us. We won't be that left out city, or that's just that small city with a very diverse community, with people that don't know anything. No, they will respect us. They will begin to, like I said, when our residents take pride and they're involved and they get buy-in in the city that they live in. It's like you go to a good restaurant. Guess what you do? Most luxury items, they don't do no advertising. When the last time you saw a Gucci ad on TV? Wow, because when you've had a good encounter and a good experience, word of mouth is the best thing. And so when our residents feel great to live in Lauderdale Lakes, when our business owners are excited about doing business in Lauderdale Lakes, that's going to be our best advertising.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, so Dr. Stephens, this was great talking to you today. We learned a lot. I learned a few things, and I always learn something new. But as we move forward, and we have less than 13 days to election day, we are in the week of early voting.
I've been at the polls 6:15 every morning, setting up. I've been out there to the Lauderdale Mall, really, and I've enjoyed doing it. I mean, I only broke away to come here to do this interview, and I'm headed right back to the Lauderdale Mall. Listen, I think yesterday first day was a little over 9,000 in Broward County.
Amazing.
It was. I'm saying Broward County. I'm to my county.
Oh, county. Oh, I thought it was okay.
It was only 10,000.
I got excited for a minute.
No. It was only 10,000. I think it was 300 and something yesterday and the day before at Lauderdale Mall.
Okay.
Listen, we have to. I've never seen as many disengaged voters. Talking to people that say, I'm not voting, I'm tired of people. Listen, we have to encourage people to get out and vote.
Yes.
I saw someone post a meme on social media that said, just like we stormed the Capitol, you better storm them ballot box.
I know you're right.
Have to get out and vote. It's bigger than just casting a vote for Dr. Stephens. We have to bring our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, our uncles, our nieces, our nephews, our children, our grandchildren. We have to make those calls and make sure people get out and vote.
That's it. That's
why people treat us the way they treat us, because they understand that as a minority community, we do a lot of talking. We say there are consequences, but we don't vote. When people begin to respect the fact that we're going to be who we are with our money and our vote, they're going to respect us. Absolutely. So I'm encouraging everybody that watches this, go vote. Don't wait till November 8th. Your polling location may have changed. Go on SOE and make sure, if you didn't vote in the primary, your location possibly changed because of redistricting. And so I really want to encourage everybody to get out and vote.
And so how do you think we change that tide? Besides like us telling other people, what else as elected officials, the person from the supervisor of an election, what can we do to really change that mindset of how important voting is? I mean, my parents are from the island, so they know people have lost their lives to vote. I mean, America also has that history, but up to now, there's always violence when there's elections, to the point where they have to, if an election was supposed to happen in like 2020, it probably won't even end up happening until 2022, because elections are, they're just violent. How do we turn the tide? How do we change the hearts and minds of people here to get them to go out and vote and see the value in what that is?
We're going to have better quality candidates and commissioners and state legislators. When people start seeing results, they'll be engaged. What we've had is people with passion. Listen, there's my favorite scripture is Psalm 78 and 72. And we miss this often. It says, David shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart and the skillfulness of his hand. We have had people that have had passion, but no skill. So you can't get results. They don't know how to build consensus. They really don't know how to lead. All they doing is, I got passion. I want to work. And so when people start seeing results, they're going to be engaged. And so that's how we're going to begin, because we have people that do education. They go door to door. They do caravans, and people still are disengaged. But when people start seeing results, that's how we built. When we went back and rebuilt the Lauderdale Lakes Vikings program in 2016, we started out with like 70 people. And we built. The next year, we won and went to the playoffs. The next year, we had a couple of teams that went to the playoffs. One team won a Super Bowl. The next year, 2 teams Super Bowl. Now we got to tell people, oh, we're full. We got to move people to other teams. Why? They saw results. So when and that's my challenge to my future colleagues. Start getting results. Stop being selfish. Stop pushing your own agenda, and really start working for the people that have voted for you.
Absolutely. And
that is
one of the things that people also need to not be afraid to do is fire the folks that aren't working for them. Right?
You better know that.
They gotta not be scared. Be like, you might like them and you might think they nice, but if they're not doing their job, you don't get them to not do their job again for another 4 years.
That's right, because you can always recall somebody you voted in. You don't have to wait till the next election. And so I really believe, and that's why I always tell people, some commissioners, some state legislators, they don't want you to come to the meetings because they don't want to see that you're not doing that. I want the meetings packed out. I want you to hold me accountable, because I told the voters it's like money back guaranteed. If I don't give you what I said, I promise you I ain't gonna run for another term. I promise you that. And so we really have to get engaged.
I tell people all the time on this show, the people is not the people in power, but the power is the powers with the people, not the people in power. And people need to understand that when you elect someone, you're electing them to do the will of the people, not the will of them, but the will of the people. And you're absolutely right. When you have someone there that's not doing what they stop being selfish, make sure you do what's right for the people. Then when people will see the results and want to continue on. But I have to tell you, you're one of a few candidates that we are like, yes.
Ready. She's not gonna be ready one day. She's ready day one, and that's what a lot of the cities need, right? Listen, we need you to be ready day one. But and I heard you say, like, if you aren't able to do the things you want to do, then you're not gonna run again, or you don't want them to vote for you again. But do you think there's some items where you really can't get it all done in 4 years, right? And that because sometimes, like, what, we got to start with a conversation, we got to start building. You may not be able to get everything done in 4 years. So as long as they see the progress, okay. Is it okay for you to run again and let people vote? Vote for you the next time?
Absolutely. It's really about communication. Because I told people right now, all a candidate has right now is a platform. You really won't know what you can accomplish until you get in a seat. Yeah. So once elected, I've always told every voter I spoke to, I'm going to come back out and really do a community needs assessment and really find out, because you only one vote. If I can't build consensus with my colleagues, everything I want to do, it matters nothing.
But some of those folks have a record that they should have been able to stand on, right? Because they've been there, and there are some folks that are running for re-election, and I ain't talking about nobody, so please don't act like I'm talking about somebody. I'm just saying, because we interview people from all different cities throughout the county, and some of them are running for re-election, and I'm just like, okay, so tell us what you already did. Like, don't tell us what you don't do. We need to know what you did, right?
Right.
Yeah, because you were there.
If I buy a brand of car and I had a bad experience, it's a fool if I go buy another brand, the same brand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting back in it because I had a bad experience with the first one. And so that's why I really, really am telling all of our voters, you got to be engaged in your city. You got to show up to meetings. A lot of cities do virtual meetings. Be informative. Let your commissioners know I'm watching you.
Okay, and I want to talk. So I like that car analogy because I was one of them people. Like I used to love Range Rovers. I wanted that car so bad because it's all pretty, right? But the one I got was a bad one. Like I'm telling you, that car. I had a 2004. We talking about. We see how traumatized I am. I'm talking about a car from 2004. I'm still traumatized by that vehicle because it was so pretty. Mine. But it was a hot mess. You know what I'm saying? And I love mine. Yeah. So I found out that year they had electrical problems, all kind of stuff. That whatever. And I wouldn't get back in the car, right? And so that's all to say. Like you have a candidate, they might be pretty, they may be nice, they may not like, you may like them, but if they're not doing the job that you hired them or you got them for, then like don't be afraid to change it up. And sometimes they could get better, but I might be willing to get a Range Rover now because somebody is telling me like give it another chance. But at that time, I was like, yeah,
And I will hold my colleagues. And that's why it's important. That's why I say I don't want to see that nobody table. I'm like Jesus. I'm gonna go in and turn the table over because I'm gonna hold my colleagues accountable because I live in this city too.
Yes,
I live in this city.
Well, that's important. So that's important.
I'm a resident. Like we don't like to hold our colleagues accountable because we're trying to cut deals on the side. We're trying to run and be over this committee or be appointed to this board. So I need your consensus to do it. Nah, I live here too.
All right.
So where can people find out more about your campaign? Are you still accepting
volunteers for early voting? Right.
Listen,
we still need some money still.
Listen, we're still accepting donations. I'm actually doing an old school telethon fundraiser live at a car wash in Lauderdale Lakes on Saturday off of Oakland Park. But they can go to electnethelstephens.com, find out how they can register to volunteer. They can find out how to donate. That's my website. Once again, it is www.electnethelstephens.com. But I'm doing an old school fundraiser. We have until November 3rd, but I've already told my campaign manager and my campaign treasurer, look, the latest I'm going to take it is November 2nd. I don't want to be in trouble. I don't want one slipping in and then we forget. No, what I want to happen is that literally November 2nd, I've raised all the things that I've raised. And I'm very good. I'm very proud of the work that my team has done in raising the funds that we need to raise. We're going to go old school with some music and a DJ, just do a throwback fundraiser. And so we're excited about that.
Any fried fish going to be there? So we know
no
we got
fried fish. But if you catch us next Saturday at Lauderdale Mall, we are having a cookout on that Saturday, but we can't give it to the voters, only to the workers.
All right, exactly. All right. We truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. And so are you on social media, Instagram, Twitter?
Social media, Instagram, Twitter at Elect Nethel Stephens. You can follow me. That's my campaign, all of my campaign. Of course, my regular social media handles is my name, Nethel Stephens, but you can follow me just to see what we're doing in our campaign. We're doing some amazing things. And trust me, you're looking at, and I pray that if you're in Lauderdale Lakes, you vote for Dr. Nethel Stephens, because my whole goal is to build a city for the future.
All righty. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure and an honor to talk to you, and we wish you nothing but luck and look forward to talking to you. And if you win, we hope that you can come back and talk.
That girl said, when she win, what you talking about this? If she wins.
When you win, Dr. Stephens, come back and talk to us. We would love to kind of do a post election.
You can do your legislative wrap up here with us too when you come and talk about the things that you do, so we can let the community know. So yeah, truly appreciate it. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me. I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Don't despise small beginnings.
That's right.
Yes.
All it takes is 1 second. See, we think that it takes knowing this person and maybe this influencer need to. No. When there's a plan that God has for what you're doing with race and races, let me tell you something. What could take 1,000 years, it could take a minute with God. I love what you ladies are doing, and I'm just decreeing and declaring that you're gonna blow it out the box. That this name of this show is gonna be in the wind. That it's gonna get in the right person at the right time, and it's gonna be the Amos 9:13 in the Message Bible. Things are gonna happen so fast, your head gonna swim. Blessings on top of blessings.
Amen.
We receive it. We receive it. We receive it. Thank you so much. We receive that. Thank you so much.
Nothing but pleasure today. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right, remember to come see us around 7:30 today on Instagram as we do our wrap up with Dr. Stephens, as well as shenanigans that happen all week. Sandra and I both have been to 2 debates. She went to the governor's debate. I went to the senator's debate. We're going to talk about that. But, make sure you jump. We do our wrap ups on Instagram, so make sure you drop off and see us over there. And we'll see you guys later. Have a great evening.
All right. Bye-bye.